Hello everyone, I'm going to talk to you today about stress and suggest some techniques that you might find helpful. Gosh, it's been more than 12 months now, hasn't it, since the first lockdown? So many changes in our lives, and change in itself can be really stressful. But what is stress? A perfectly normal reaction. It's our brain's way of telling us that we're going to be confronted by something that's dangerous or difficult. And it's not a bad thing in itself. You know, a bit of stress in our lives can be helpful. It can stop us snoozing the alarm when it goes off in the morning. It can make sure we meet that deadline or we're prepared for a presentation. But I think the issue is that when it all feels too much, when you start to feel overwhelmed or you can't cope, that's when stress becomes difficult. And of course it can affect you in all kinds of ways: physical, emotional, and also in the way that you think about things. First of all, I'm just going to talk to you about a way that I find very helpful in terms of thinking about stress, and that's called the stress bucket, or you might know about it as the stress container. So the idea is that we all have a bucket or a container that our stress flows into. If we're feeling resilient at the moment, we've got a big bucket, plenty of space for lots of stress. Whereas if we're feeling quite vulnerable at the moment, the bucket's much smaller, which means there's much less space for stress, much more risk of it overflowing. And you know, the size of the bucket changes over time depending on what's going on for us. So, and you know, have you ever had that feeling? I mean, I know I have, where something feels like it's the last straw, and you think, well, why am I worrying about this? Why is this causing me so much upset? When last year I would have coped with it really easily. And maybe that's because this year, for whatever reason, your stress bucket is smaller, or there's more in it. So, you know, be kind to yourself when you think that something is stressing you that shouldn't. So, on your stress bucket, you have a tap. That's the good news. You have a tap, turn the tap, and you can let out some of the stress. And how do you do that? By using some of your coping strategies. So I'm going to talk to you first of all about a couple of tools and then talk more about specific strategies. But I think before we do that, it is really important to know yourself. It's important to know, what is it that triggers me in my stress? Because it's not the thing in itself. Nothing is intrinsically stressful. Well, some things are, but most day-to-day things are not intrinsically stressful. It's the way we react to them. You know, some people are always so fearful of being late that they're always early. Some people don't care at all and they're always late. That's just about personality, different things stressing different people. But also it's important to know about what works for you. So, how do you notice when you're starting to feel more stressed? Well, if you can start noticing that something is concerning you, you can say to yourself, okay, what is it that I'm worrying about? And then, is there anything that I can do about this? And if there isn't anything you can do, in a way, the only option you have is that really hard thing of letting go. That might be you might need to do something like mindfulness, or you might need to do something that really engages your brain in something different, so you can try and let go of that. But if it's something that you do have some control over, the question is, okay, what can I do about it? When am I going to do it? How am I going to do it? Am I going to do it now, or am I going to set a plan for it? But I think the important thing is about actually making that decision so that that worry doesn't keep coming back to bite you. So I'm going to talk to you now about some actual tools and techniques, and none of them are rocket science. So I'm first of all going to talk about physical stress busters. I'm sure you're not surprised that I'm mentioning these. There is so much research out there about the link between physical activity and good mental health and well-being. You know, there's the very aerobic exercises like going to the gym, going swimming, going for a run. But if they're not for you, other physical activities can still be really helpful. Going for a walk, getting out in the fresh air, doing some gardening. The list is endless, but those kind of things can be really helpful. And if you think about it, we've all probably been at risk of becoming more sedentary over the last year. We've moved from working in the office to working from home. You know, there's no commute, which might involve some walking. There's no big office to walk around. I mean, all I have to do to start work is to walk from the bedroom to the living room, and it's not very far, believe you me. So if I want to incorporate more exercise into my life, I need to make a plan for it. And that's where the habit loop can be helpful. You have the cue about making sure that you've kind of set a time for it, or maybe you've set an alarm for it, the routine, how often are you going to do it? And then you need to reward yourself. So moving on from the physical things, there's also the importance of connecting with other people. We're sociable beings, we need other people. COVID has forced many of us into a position where we're either on our own a lot, or we're only with a very limited number of people. Some things that are really helpful, talking about things rather than bottling them up. But also just general social conversation is important. And obviously now that restrictions are lifting, there is much more chance of connecting in really positive relationships with people. And then moving away from other people to you, the importance of thinking about what's important to you, the things that nurture you or give your life meaning. That might be hobbies, interests, mindfulness, laughing, having fun, doing something creative or spiritual or cultural. The list is endless, and there is a risk, I think, in our busy lives of work and family and all those other responsibilities that we can lose track of what's really important to us. And I really believe that by having those things in our lives, we build our own resilience to manage the difficult things that come along. But finally, and I really want to stress this, sometimes your best coping strategy is to ask for help. It may sound counterintuitive, but there are some situations that just going it alone isn't going to be enough. And if that's the case, don't feel shame. Please reach out for help. And you know that we will be there for you, foryoubyou.org.uk. You'll find a wealth of digital resources around all kinds of issues such as health, mental health and wellbeing, caring, money issues, but also there's the opportunity to apply for assistance, and we will welcome any application that you make. So good luck with managing your stress.